All right, guys, what's going on? Good morning. Welcome to our morning note. It is Friday, May 8th, 2020. Hope everyone's having a great morning. A lot to talk about here. We just had our the unemployment, non-farm payroll report that just came out. The number the expectation was 21.5 million jobs lost at a 16% unemployment rate, which would be the worst report for unemployment since the Great Depression in the 30s. And the actual number was better than expected. 20.5 million jobs lost. If you want to say the word better, is and 14.7% unemployment rate. So that's where we are currently. The president was also on Fox this morning talking about some investigation with Barack Obama and Joe Biden. I didn't get to read the details on it, but it is on Twitter if you want to feel free and check it out. Let's kind of go over futures here. Even with the worst employment number since the 30s, futures are up. Dow futures are up 251. Still a little off the highs though. The high on E-mini futures is right around 29.23. We're at 29.09 right now. 29 points up about 1%. Nasdaq lagging behind slightly was higher, around almost at 92.38 overnight, up about 0.9%, and Dow futures up to 1258. Russell 2000 index futures are up about 1.4%. Looks like the VIX is kind of stabilizing a bit, kind of falling back down to historic levels. Now at 29.9, down 5% before the market session. Bitcoin futures sliding a bit. We did tap 10,000 on the Bitcoin futures. Now we're down about 0.65%. Gold futures are down as well, 0.61% at 17.15 an ounce. Silver is up about 0.45%, and the US 10-year yields are up. Let me go ahead and get that for you on my other screen. I'll go ahead and get you the 10-year note right now, exactly where it is. Check out CNBC and get the correct total. About 3 basis points to the upside, about 0.661. Fed fund futures for 2021 is now in negative territory. That's the first time that's ever happened in U.S. history. It's just futures, doesn't mean that it actually has printed. It's just futures, and the dollar is basically flat. So you can see futures, get the reaction kind of muted. You can see here, this is kind of your range for the hour. 29.18 on the highs, we're right around 29.10, kind of almost mid halfway there, 29.01. So you're getting about an 18-point range on ES, and we're at 29.11. So on the upside of that range on that candle. So that's where we are. Kind of want to go over on why we're up. And I'm pretty sure you're thinking to yourself, what the hell, Carlos, how is it that we're having horrific job news, economic news, yet we're stock market's up? We have to understand, like I talked about yesterday, the stock market is forward thinking. They're kind of basing prices on the third quarter and Q4, and we are reopening in certain parts of the country. I think San Francisco's reopening. I think Texas reopened. Georgia reopened. So again, slowly but surely, there's some optimism there. Optimism for a vaccine with Moderna, and I talked about it yesterday. Abbott Labs, Pfizer, Gilead, all working on it. So, is the worst over? Is probably everyone's question. I've said it has. Remember, the stock market fell in February, end of February, March, before all this horrible COVID headlines came out. So it's almost like the stock market is ahead of the game. They're almost about 3 to 4 weeks ahead of the fundamentals and the news. Earnings was priced in a sense. Yeah, we had some earnings revisions here and there, and you also had guidance that was cut or taken away in general. Dividends were cut. Like, for example, Disney's up 2% because Shanghai Disney's reopening and they were sold out. So there is obviously a demand out there. Now, that's China, but there's a demand out there for goods and services, which is a very good thing. So if you're an investor, you're kind of looking at this report, kind of looking at it in the sense of, keeping a perspective. It's horrific to see that people have lost so much jobs and they're not working, but there is demand out there. There is demand for goods and services. So once the economy is back up and running, we don't know the date when that will happen, but there is some optimism there. Now you could say, is the optimism too high here? Are we going to get another flush? That's something I'm going to talk about in the podcast tonight. The podcast tonight will be why we are bullish and why we've been buying stocks and the fundamentals and the technical reasons. I'll go over it all with you guys on the podcast. And my job is not to convince you. It's just more of these to explain why we're doing what we're doing. Like today, we're gonna buy some stocks today, and we're looking to see if we can get a couple of positions in with our investment club. We have not sold anything. We will be selling off a position today and getting and adding a new position today, and then adding to another position in our portfolio. So just something that we're looking for, forward thinking here. So let's go ahead and look at what is moving pre-market. I can go ahead and bring that up. I'll bring this up here. Bear with me a second. I gotta open my other window here. Pre-market screener, and then I can show you on my screen here. Okay, so here's what's moving today. Herbalife is up about 12%, Life Storage up about 8, Hilton is up about 7, Foot Locker is up about 7, Norwegian Cruise about 6. What's down today? The laggards. Roku's down about 7%, Trade Desk down about 7%. Some of the bigger names. Motorola's down about 8. This is the most active. Uber reported their earnings. They were actually down post market. Now they're up about 6%. Carnival's up about 3%. American Airlines up about 3%. So kind of the virus fear trade, the leisure and travel that has been lagging is actually up. So I guess the better than expected jobs report is helping that trade. So you're kind of getting the, you know, bottom feeding either two ways. You have dip buyers and you also have people who are offside in their position that are covering their short position. That makes complete sense. There could be a lot of people that were very bearish or too bearish and they just got hit offsides and they went ahead and just closed them out. They're closing them out, closing out their shorts. So if you're closing out your short position, you have to buy. So hence why maybe a Delta, why a Carnival, why Norwegian is up. I mean, there's a lot more to go, but again, it's still up pre-market. Ford is up pre-market. Apple is up pre-market about 1%. AMD is up about 0.67. Microsoft up about 1%. Boeing is up about 2%. Bank of America up about 2%. Caterpillar, Wells Fargo, Walt Disney, like we talked about, is up about 2.7%. We own the stock due to the Shanghai demand for Disneyland or Disney World. I forget. I think it's Shanghai Disney. I guess there's some demand there. So you're starting to see, kind of, better than expected. People are feeling better. And it's funny because I was actually pretty bearish this week. I thought that with the China stuff going on, the rhetoric, but even the trade talks are going back again, going well. I guess stop me if you heard that before, but that's where we are currently. And in a sense, you have to kind of think of the market as what are they pricing in? Are they pricing the best possible scenario or just rebounding of reopening everything? So again, I'll talk about that more into detail in the actual podcast moving forward. I still have calls with our team. It's been a very, very choppy couple of weeks. This week in particular, volume was very low in the S&P, the lowest since February 19th of this year. It's been rough. I mean, we have setups. We closed one trade, but we have four trades open. Looking to see if we can get out of those today, obviously. Early as can be at a profit. And this kind of move in the market does help because we have calls. So let's see what we get. Let's answer some questions here. Heatmaster says stocks are way too high at these levels. The markets need to be taken off the morphine trip. I mean, again, when you say too high, in what aspect do you think you're too high? Are you talking about a valuation standpoint? Sure, I can agree with you. Or you're just talking about a fundamental standpoint in comparison to economic data. That's different. That's something I'll go over at that argument or that point in the podcast. Paul's asking thoughts on Tesla and Nasdaq calls. Nasdaq, if you have the Nasdaq QQQ, it's at 224. It is moving up. I had the 222 calls yesterday and I closed them out for 34% profit. That's where we are. Tesla, I mean, Tesla, we had some decent news that they will reopen their plants, I think in California. But again, I put out a chart on Instagram yesterday about the consolidation and boost. I guess we're just a little too early because I had the 900 calls and we're looking for that boost and we just never got it. So let's see if we can get something out of it and just move on. But Q's looks very nice, breakout. I mean, all tech looks great and they continue the buying. I mean, I still have Apple calls. I have the 305 calls. I'm in the money. Let's see if I can hold that up and see if I can get some profit out of that thing. But ES is moving up now. We're getting another leg up, 29.12. We still have 30 minutes until the opening bell. So I think the market now is kind of digesting this unemployment report or non-farm payroll report moving forward. What time is your podcast? Well, it's not live. It'll just be tonight. I don't have an exact time, obviously, because after the market closes, I still have to have some work to do with the other businesses that I have with my other staff. So I'm looking around 6 or 7 p.m. tonight. and I'll go ahead and take care of that for you guys. I know you guys have been clamoring for more podcast episodes. Really, the only thing that's been I've been having issues with is the timing. Excuse me, the subjects. The podcast, the YouTube channel. I've been saying 9 a.m. and I've actually been starting early. I guess a little bit. I've been too excited to get started, so I just wanted to knock it out so I can get back with my guys. But here we are. Let's see. Paul says, do you think that if the stock market is pricing in Q2 or 3, there will be another drop when there'll be earning misses? No, Q2 is already priced in my opinion. I think now we're looking into Q4 and probably Q1 of 2021. And yeah, listen, you're going to get some kind of fall. Let me make that clear. You're not going to go straight up. That doesn't exist. But are we going to revisit the lows of March? No. I think that ship has sailed. I think maybe your benchmark, where you're seeing the lows, really the lows that you're going to get, if you want to bring up a actual chart here, I'm thinking maybe 2642 on the on ES, E-mini futures or S&P. That's probably your support. That's probably the worst case scenario. Not worst case, but well, a bad scenario, about a 300-point drop from the S&P. I don't think we test 2300 at all, but 2600 is probably your main support that you're going to get looking forward. So, uh, but yeah, I mean, stock market is running up, man. So you just gotta have to ride the wave here. The tough part is when the stock markets are up, you have to find good values. But again, I get a lot of arguments, debate arguments about, oh, well, Warren Buffett has all this cash and he hasn't bought anything. I'm going to go over that too. I'm going to go over a lot of things with you guys on this podcast. Xavier asks, people are very overly bearish. Market's going to run up once everything starts open again. Xavier, I'll agree with you there. I think a lot of it's offside. A lot of people were over position, the wrong position. I mean, when you start seeing a lot of people bearish, I know it's kind of the Buffett thing, then you kind of want to get a little greedy. I think people were just too bearish. This is why I bought the S&P at 2300. That's why when we called the bottom as a company, we said we're buying stocks at 2300 S&P, the 2018 December lows. And we've been right so far. That's obviously the call made sense for us, and I think we're going to get better. I've said it before. I think the worst is over. I've said it before. Do we continue to 3,000 or to new all-time highs? I don't know. I mean, I'll go over the details with historical statistics on if we get a bounce back of that proportion this year. Again, we still have a lot of time left, so it really just it's one of those things that you just have to wait. We still have what 7 months left in the year, so with that being said, it's hard to be a bull because you have to defend yourself, and it's like it's hard to defend yourself when people are unemployed. That's the thing. But as an investor, you just have to look for value and look forward. Uh, Oza asked, "Hi, yes, for sure, man. I'm in India, so time's all over the place. Good stuff. Cheers. Thanks. Big shout out to India. Thanks for listening." Heatmaster says Musk has even said his stock was too high and is back near 800 again. I mean, investors, I think we kind of understand. I'm a Tesla investor. I think we kind of understand what kind of CEO we have with Elon Musk. The guy's just a loose cannon, but the man's a genius. What can you say? Guy's a very, very intelligent man. So I guess the market has discounted the Musk Twitter in a sense. But yeah, we're near 800 anyways. Can you do an Insta Live next week? Yeah, we'll do an Insta Live next week, Paul. We'll go and do that. We'll answer some Q&As. We'll do that. That sounds like fun. I don't mind doing Instagram Live with you guys. We just really want to see if people want to join. That's kind of the main thing. But yeah, that's where we are. So I can't wait for this podcast. Last podcast episode was about trading psychology, and the week before was about fixed income and bonds. I talked about kind of the intricacies of how it works. And now we're going to talk about why we are bullish or why I'm bullish. You can put my name on it. That's fine. Yeah, I'm gonna go over everything with you. Again, my job is not to convince you to buy anything. My job is just to tell you my position on why I'm bullish, and I'm probably gonna get a ton of hate crime, to hate emails or hate tweets or hate DMs that I'm an idiot. I don't know what I'm talking about. Whatever. This is what it is. Xavier asks, agreed. Good time to sell puts and collect premium. Yeah, sure you can. Just depends on the stock. Camille says, did you listen to Elon Rogan podcast yesterday? Thoughts? No, I didn't listen to it, but I did. I didn't see any kind of headlines out that said anything bad, and the stock of Tesla's up, so I'm assuming all good. Oh, there's a man's a G, but he has a rep for playing around with the stock price. Anyone remember the 420 fiasco? Yeah, I remember that 420, and it broke through, and that's a good sign. I mean, his pay package or his compensation package has helped shareholders in a sense. You could say that too. I mean, a lot of people are saying, "Oh, he's overpaid, and he gets to." Hey, his performance is based on the stock price, and if you're an investor, you're loving the performance of Tesla the last 18 months. And if you've been sticking with it, even with all the noise out there on Twitter saying that that Tesla's this, and there's a lot of people who are short Tesla, but they've been eating everyone's lunch. So I mean, just stick again, guys, with investing, try to ignore the noise. You have to do your homework and look at what you think is best and figure it out that way and say, hey, this is the company I like, why I like them. Do you believe the story? Do you trust management? Do you look at the sector as a whole moving forward? That's what you kind of want to look at when you're investing in a certain stock or an ETF. Do you trust the story? Do you trust the growth moving forward? Because when you're buying a stock, you're betting that it's going to gain value in the future. Or if you're short, why it's going to go down in the future. But I don't short stocks. I just buy stocks, buy and hold. Okay, so pretty good stuff. We talked about a lot here. 14.7 employment rate. That's kind of the headline here number on CNBC as I'm watching. And all right, so I guess if there's no other questions, we'll go ahead and leave it there, guys. Make sure to like and comment on our and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Podcast tonight, why we are bullish on Anchor, on the Anchor app, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Hope you guys join. It should be tonight. I don't have an exact time, around 6 or 7 o'clock, but just turn on notifications. It'll pop up on your screen, on your phone, what have you. Easy stuff. Maybe next week we'll do an Instagram live and answer some more questions, and then we'll post that on YouTube as well. And of course, YouTube live every morning, 9 a.m. for our morning note. Sorry, I've been kind of doing a little early. I guess just excitement kind of gets to me because I want to talk about this number. All right, guys, we'll leave it there. Have a great rest of your weekend. Stay safe, and we'll catch you guys later.